My AirPod's working.
Are you AirPods? Oh, yeah. You always have it on your left? No, maybe you're...
On my right ear. I don't know why.
Maybe because like me, you have like a better hearing on one ear than the other. No, but you always also kind of... Your face is slightly on the right, meaning that you're hiding that.
I don't know what it is. I don't like having headphones on both. I feel very claustrophobic.
Oh, it reminds me of the army. When I was doing the army, they gave us these super big things to when you went to a shooting range. And I felt like I was dying. I hated that thing, you know.
I don't like it. It's a very strange feeling. I'm sure there's some technical term for it.
Exactly. Guys, tell us. There must be something. I mean, this is why I never buy in-ear headphones, like the new AirPods Pro, whatever thing. I tried them for like a week and I was like, this is not for me. Give them away. It's just like when it sticks into my ear, I become like claustrophobic. That's a good term. That's probably the term, actually. Is that a scientific term for? Is it also raining cats and dogs in your place?
Yeah, my alarm clock this morning was the end of the world. It was actually kind of cool. I love that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was quite the spectacle put on by Mother Nature.
Yeah, it was
almost
also
tropical.
It was also during the night. He woke me up like at 3 and then kind of stopped, and then around 6 or something. It's very ironic because here we had the hosepipe ban starting yesterday. Well, I'm happy because my garden will not die out now. I can see the grass becoming greener as each hour passes. I think it's going to go all day. Anyway, hold on. I'm hearing you well for once, but I'm also put different type of...
I have my gain cranked up, so...
You cannot hear yourself, right?
No.
Well, I normally don't do podcasts with these. These are for my live streaming stuff, whatever. Have you seen, I woke up to the news of Japan opening up to individual tourists, but you need to go to a travel agency. Your face, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've been having some conversations with people, fellow Japanophiles, about this development, this ongoing development and the rumors, and yourself included. And I think you and I are of the same temperament on this, which is, I'm just going to be patient. I've been patient for 2.5 years. I'm going to extend my patience until it's how it was. But these are all positive signs that we're moving towards that glorious, glorious day when it was like the olden days.
Yeah,
it's good. It's positive.
Yeah. I was not planning to go before. I gave up, like you. Not gave up, but like, you know, whenever it happens, it happens. And I was planning perhaps to go like in December, so perhaps that would be good. Because I was talking to Matt Drink Water at, I think his Twitter handle, which I didn't say last time, is at Drink Matt. If not, Drink Matt. That must be a new beer. Sorry, Matt. And it was, a couple another month and they'll open fully. Because yesterday, when I went to sleep, the new thing was unguided tours. And you're like, what? So you're supposed to go on a tour, but it's unguided. I don't know. What are they thinking? And this morning, or late last night, if you were still awake, they said they will allow through. It reminds me of the days, I don't know, you probably have experienced that because you were traveling as a younger kid. You're still a kid. Some countries in Asia required you to go through travel agencies to enter the countries. I think Taiwan was one of them. Taipei, if you wanted to go there, you couldn't book by yourself you had to go through. So basically it's back to the 80s or something for Japan for now. We'll see. It's not officially announced, guys. It's for September, apparently.
And wasn't this mixed in with the news that they're going to drop
PCR
any form of
testing? Yeah.
Yeah, PCR testing as well.
My sarcastic take on that is that the Prime Minister Kishida wasn't able to go to Tunisia because he tested positive for COVID. So basically he did that for himself. So next time he can actually go to his visits.
I think so much policy is based on that type of thing. And you know what? I think we're getting used to it. Well, you know what? That's good. I think... I don't know. We've all tried to predict the ebb and flow of COVID over the last 2.5 years, and no one has got it right. And I think these small wins are enough to keep our heads up. So long may it continue.
Yeah, exactly. So, have you had a good summer? Hold on. Let me just put I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you. And the music comes in a little bit later. Have you had a good summer? Because, guys, we haven't actually really talked to each other since we last recorded. I mean, you went off with your kids to the US. We'll talk about that today. And then you went off with a tour of the US, a big Alex Hunter tour with Megan as a supporting act in South California and Mexico. We'll talk about that as well. You send me like episodically a few pictures of random airports. And I think you've done, by the way, we have to decide which airport it is today because you've done SJD, LAP. LAP, I'm like, what is that one? And Phoenix, but Phoenix, I think we've done it. San Francisco, we've done it as well. LAX, we've done it as well. Mm-hmm. So probably it's going to be between these two. You'll have to tell me about those airports.
Yeah, they are. I was just reading when I was putting my notes together a little bit earlier this morning. La Paz is an interesting one because it's so often confused with Bolivia, which has got so many. It's much more storied than La Paz, Mexico. But yeah, it's that was neat. I think that one has probably earned the my affections, if not the designation for the airport of this episode.
Okay,
yeah,
so
So I got to show you.
How
this,
you had a good summer?
Yeah. I forgot I ordered this a year ago.
My God,
it's my new in-flight entertainment system. It's a Valve Steam Deck.
Yeah, I know, but wait, a year ago, meaning that you forgot it in a box, or did it come a year later?
So they did pre-orders a year ago when it was just sort of like a proof of concept, and I was like, that's awesome because I used to be a PC gamer, but I'm not anymore, and I've got, and I love Nintendo and all that stuff, but I was like, I just wish there was something. And then this came out and everyone's like, wow, this actually looks like it's going to work. And I signed myself up, paid the deposit, and then completely forgot about it.
Oh, yeah, that happens. That happens to me a lot with Kickstarter stuff, right? They suddenly come like 5 years later. Oh, did I order this?
I think it was exactly the same thing. I mean, it was even procedurally like a Kickstarter, and then it just arrived in California, and I was like, oh yeah. And it's a very, very impressive device. It will absolutely be my my IFE of choice now. Just it's a very impressive piece of computing if you're into that at all, and you can emulate every old school console ever made.
That sells it to me though. I mean, the reason I don't have any console gaming or PC, I used to also game, is that it's addictive to me. So if I have something at home, thank God I don't have any kids, I would basically never stop playing. I remember like LAN nights and forever days of, weekends that lasted for 5 days of playing some, even GoldenEye 007. GoldenEye 007 is probably one of the best games ever. With friends
got it,
doing
man. It's on here.
Oh
60 frames a second in 4K. So yes, it's just a little nostalgia machine. But yeah, and I'm with you. So
we're right for that. We're the right age for the nostalgia.
We are the right age, exactly. Because my kids are video gamers and always are saying, "Hey, do we come play with us?" And I do every now and then, but most often I don't because life is busy, but also they're really, really good at it, and that's kind of annoying.
Yeah, it's a challenge for you. Yeah. I need to show that I'm still the head of the house.
They kicked my ass on a regular basis. But yes, I had a good summer, and we never get the opportunity to go back to your first Pakistan trip, let alone your second. So I decided that because we're still in August, we're recording this 25th of August, 2022. We're still going to stay with a holiday mood before we come back to work in September. So we're going to focus on your trips and all the news that we missed and some of the stuff. And I'll do an entire Pakistan episode, the next one. Yeah, yes. I ended up going to Islamabad. It was a very, like you know, because I've been keeping you appraised, very, 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 very last minute. It was planned, but the visa wasn't getting through. There was a lot of logistical issues, and basically I just came back. So on a Sunday, a fortnight ago, on a Sunday at 6 p.m., bought my tickets to there. And on Monday morning, I was at Heathrow going to Islamabad for a week. Wow. And it was fantastic. The reason I want to there's so much to say about how to get there and to talk about the country, because, of course, it's one of these countries that has a lot of cliches and often negative cliches about it. When people, all my friends, when I say I'm going to Pakistan, they look at me like I'm something crazy, or maybe I'm a spy. That's the only reason, the two reasons. Either I'm insane or I'm a spy. There's one of the two reasons I'm going there. And so I want to, of course, defend the country and explain it a bit. But what I've discovered is that the three cities I've been to, so Karachi, which I've now been twice, Lahore,
and Islamabad, which I've just been to, are almost 3 different countries. So I want to take time to explain, because that, it's remember we talked about, Mark, if an airport represents their city, and in that instance it is really the case, because each airport has its own almost culture and all messiness or lack thereof. So I think it requires a good hour of discussing, and also all the quirks. There are some delicate matters to talk about.
I'm looking forward to it.
So yeah, absolutely. And since I don't want to do like just travels this episode, let's do it for the next one, which will be whatever in about 2-3 weeks. But yeah, so I've been to Pakistan, you've been to the US. Boris has been in a typhoon. I mean, I wish I was prime minister just to be in a typhoon.
Yeah.
We usually don't talk really about politics, but having seen that, I'm very jealous to be in a typhoon. Would you have done this if you were prime minister?
I don't know probably. I think if I'm going to abuse any type of power, it's going to be to get myself in some kind of fast jet. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they were refueling whilst he was filming that or something. I mean, God. Yeah, I'm jealous. I'm not a particular fan of Morris, but that I like. So let's play the intro music for Ken Kanai, as always. Alex, were you able to meet Coco Melon? We had your brother, Will, I think it was 2 episodes ago, actually, sending us, posting one of these pics. I think it was on Instagram, about him listening to, not the previous, but 2 episodes ago. And I think then he was in discussion with his wife on Instagram, because instead of taking care of the kid, he was actually listening to layovers. And she mentioned Coco Melon. What is Coco Melon for someone who doesn't have kids? Is that the new name of Will Hunter? That's why I called him Coco Melon.
Well, it is now. Oh gosh, yeah, it's the kind of animation juggernaut that has taken over the lives of anybody with parents, with kids, with parents too. With
is that
kids.
The new Peppa Pig?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, somebody will jump on it. I want to say it's from somewhere in Asia, but I might be completely wrong. But it started on YouTube and is now a juggernaut. I think it's the most subscribed and most watched channel in all of YouTube.
Oh, there you go. Because the reason, of course, I know about Peppa Pig, besides of UK politics, is because people who live in UK will get that. It's because my goddaughter. I mean, now she's older. She used to watch that all the time, and I would put her in front of that when she was bored at my place. And that's the reason I finally installed like some, profiles on my subscription services, because otherwise I would get only then, she would leave and my entire programs will be, I was like, what?
Yeah, but I learned that the hard way too.
So let's start with good news or bad news. BA is canceling every single flight for the next 40 years or something.
It's been this cascading wave of cancellations, hasn't it, all summer? And it doesn't seem to. Well, I was about to say it hasn't made a bit of difference, but actually, you know what?
I think it did.
I think it has made a difference, and if it's a short-term pain for long-term gain, I don't know if they or their PR machine have done a good job of explaining why they're doing this and what we, the traveling public, can expect to see as a result. All we see, and I think it's quite right, is my effing flight was just canceled. Because it's not exactly a whole bunch of notice, is it? They're talking about through the end of October, and now you booked your flight maybe even a year ago, and now you're getting notice that it's been canceled.
Yeah, they first started, that was just after we recorded last time, they announced the suspension of selling tickets for August, and they canceled a lot of short-haul flights, so you were safe. And I would have been safe if you had flown BA. I ended up on Qatar, obviously. But still, and then that is expanded now to, I think, like you said, in November, I think. I haven't been to Heathrow twice, so once in May and once now in August. I think it made a difference. Now, of course, like you said, if it falls on you, you're not happy about having your flights canceled. And it doesn't give you a lot of confidence to actually, I'm going to Spain in November. I think I'm going to book with EasyJet.
Yeah.
Just, because, I don't know. It doesn't give you a lot of confidence into short haul in Europe with BA.
Nothing does anymore. But you're right. I mean, EasyJet, they do seem to be the ones that have. I mean, we set Ryanair aside because I think just procedurally, mechanically, philosophically, they're a completely different beast. But EasyJet are the ones that seem to have. I mean, you look at other, even in their on-time performance, they're the ones that have weathered this storm the least crappy.
Mm-hmm.
And not BA.
Yeah, I think so.
And not BA. And BA have made some structural changes. They've made some schedule changes. They've made a lot of big changes. And I think this is one of the painful realizations once they put all the pieces together, going, we don't have space. We don't have the capacity for these 10,000 flights or what. However, I can't remember what the actual sum total of flights canceled.
Yeah, it's
more than 10,000. I think it's probably pushing 20 or 30,000. And
yeah, I think I think it's. By the way, guys, I have my window open because otherwise I will burn to death of heat, even though it's raining. So part of me, there's like suddenly a truck. I think it's Thursdays are usually when the garbage is being taken out. We'll hear about that in a few, guys. So apologies for that. One of the consequences I haven't thought about, because it doesn't really concern us, with all the delays and all the issues at Heathrow, and probably in other airports as well. But we know that the visa rules in the UK are pretty. So in the UK, if you have a short layover, for most passports you don't have to take a visa. Mm-hmm. But it exists for certain passports, and for longer delays, it exists something like the transit visa.
Oh, yeah.
And I've seen
India.
I've heard many stories of people getting stuck at Heathrow because their flight has been delayed or cancelled, and suddenly they're like illegal immigrants in the UK. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think India is one, and I've heard of people transiting from like the US through Heathrow and getting stuck.
Yeah, I think for the US, they're on a waiver, so they should be fine. But if you are on a, like you said, Indian passport probably, or maybe Pakistani passport, all these passports, sad for them that we are a bit stringent on. I mean, it's unfair, but it is the rules of the UK, not ours, not Alex and mine. I mean, this is not great, and I'm sure it happens in other places as well. So it's consequences of this mess. So Heathrow, actually, the reason that BA cancelled and suspended the sale of short-haul flights during August is because Heathrow asked nicely to the airlines to stop selling tickets, to cap their flights, basically, which some did. And the story about Emirates was pretty fun, actually.
It was.
What it's done, because so once Heathrow announces that, then Emirates shot back with a pretty well-written press release.
Yeah, I mean, the TLDR of which was, how about you go F yourself? Really, I mean, and you're right, it was beautifully pithy and sardonic.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to do this. It's not our problem that you can't run an airport.
What I've learned since in the background, I don't know all the exact details, but I've some sources from insiders, is that actually Emirates leveraged that whole situation to negotiate something. I don't know if it's lowering of some fees for the rest of the year or something. So they ended up saying, okay, we will not sell more tickets for August. The reality is that they only had 10 seats left to sell in August.
Which I'm sure they didn't reveal during the negotiation.
No, they didn't, probably. So they probably a win-win for them, because anyway, it was like, and they said they would authorize. So let's say if you and me had a ticket and wanted to rebook ourselves for a later flight, that's not a new ticket, that would be fine. So they gave themselves a lot of. So basically, they were full. So anyway, have you heard? I didn't know that existed. I mean, I knew that it existed from some of the ethereal, very ultra wealthy people, but a friend of mine will stay unnamed, because he was hearing there were so many issues at Heathrow, booked himself, when he came from San Francisco to London, at the Windsor Suites.
Oh, yeah. The only reason I know those exist is because in the 90s, there was that wonderful program on BBC called, I think it was just called Airport, and it's been resurrected a few times in the following decades, but it was just behind the scenes documentary, and one of the people they followed around on a regular basis was the woman who ran that.
Oh, okay. I did.
Yeah.
So
and it's now right next to T5, sort of underneath T5. But I didn't even know you could do that.
yeah, it's $5,000 per person. So what they do apparently, they pick you up at the airport. So the royal family uses that apparently, right? So they pick you up at the inside the aircraft. They drive you with probably a very nice Jaguar or something to that location. And that 5,000 gives you, of course, there's immigration right there, so you don't have to, the process is for you if you have to go through immigration, and you can stay up to 3 hours. And of course, that's also where you wait for your luggage, because the luggage don't have like a royal system, I guess. So you still have to wait for them. But yeah. I mean, probably out of our budget. I don't think a client would actually pay for. Like, yeah, of course, I need a royal suite when I come back.
I mean, to be completely honest, if there was an extra 5,000 in a travel budget, I would be throwing it at the experience. And
I'd love to try. Yeah,
immigration if it means I can go first on Emirates.
Guys, if you've tried it, whether willingly or because maybe your boss paid for it, or maybe because you're ultra wealthy, well, I'll keep anonymity. Please tell us how it is, because I've tried to look at pictures online, and there's not that many. So I would love to know the experience. I mean, you must feel like a baller if somebody picks you up at the airport, or you've been drunk and you've been arrested by the police. That's either the case. I know. Since we're talking immigration, guys, I promise I'll move on from the UK soon. But I've read as well that the border force, so our dear people checking immigration when we arrive here, is testing technology that allows you to enter the UK without going into an e-gate and without talking to anyone. Probably that's biometrics. They don't say that but probably that's biometrics, right?
I mean, when I got back into the US from Mexico, the guy said, I started to take my passport out, and he said, don't just look at the camera. Okay. I mean, the technology is there, and I think the thing that they're talking about is you wouldn't even really need to stop.
Yeah, that reminds me of my experience at Dubai, which I explained now 3 years ago, whatever. COVID years do not count, so a year ago. Where I think, was I entering? I was exiting the UAE at Dubai airport, and I was in premium, so I was like in the first in business class checking thing, and they had like this path, and you just walked. You didn't have to stop, and I guess if the machine didn't recognize you, some doors would lock you in or something. Yeah. Or maybe a trap. I do it.
Yeah, you would just fall through the floor.
But that was very impressive, and I guess that's the idea. I still had to scan my passport at some point. When I was doing the when I was simply doing the check-in. So I'm wondering if that was not linked.
Yeah.
I didn't have to register for it. So anyway, I think that's the future, yeah.
I do too. Anything they can do to release or reduce the friction on that part of the process.
So I didn't know that you, so as you guys may know, Alex lives in Kent, which is south east of London. I didn't know that you put so much pressure on the government that they're about to open the 7th London airport next to you. I've read that Manston Airport is being rejiggled as a new London. Of course, then London, is it still London? But London Airport. Would you, first of all, have you ever been to Manston Airport?
Dude, Manston has a huge place in my heart because it's where I learned how to fly. The very first flight that I took when I was at the controls was at Manston when I was an Air Force cadet, because it's an old RAF base.
Yes, that I knew. Yeah.
And when I was 13, I jumped into a chipmunk, and I
no way.
That did my ab initio flight training there. Yeah, and it was cool because it's a huge long runway, and it was a point where if you were learning to be a 747 pilot with BA, that's where you would come and do your touch and goes.
Oh, no way.
So I would be in the pattern in a chipmunk with a BA 747.
Oh, that's awesome.
But is it anywhere near London? Piss off, is it?
Yeah, London. I mean, that's the definition. As soon as they had like London Oxford Airport.
We just ripped the shit out of that in our Oxford attaché episode.
Yes, true. That was a very nice episode. Guys, wait for the enjoyment of seeing three brothers having fun and displaying old pictures of themselves. It's it's a different kind of episode, but it's one of my favorites because of the
it's fun to make.
The brotherhood and the emotion of it. I really loved it. I really loved it. You should really watch it. But yeah, you mentioned that. I forgot. You mentioned that London Oxford Airport. Yeah.
And then I think Manston will probably follow the same trajectory as London Oxford because people have tried and failed to establish scheduled service out of there. But then when you see how difficult it is to actually get into London, they pull out. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And you have, along the south coast near me, you have Lid as well, which did scheduled service to Lutuke.
I was looking into that years ago because I wanted to go to Normandy. That would be the faster route.
Yeah. And Lutuke is a lovely little town in and of itself. But now with the Channel Tunnel, there's no point. So I don't know. They talked about establishing high-speed rail link between Manston. I mean, they've been talking about this for decades, ever since Manston shut down.
High-speed rail in this country?
It's not going to happen.
We're supposed to have one between Gatwick and Heathrow. It will never happen. Or it will happen by in 2000 something 80. I mean, come on. It's sad because the state of rail, especially high speed, it's not really a high speed in this country first. I mean, I would not bank on the high speed.
No, I wouldn't either.
You still cannot get to, which one is it? Luton or Stansted? You still have to take the bus to do the end.
Yeah.
Right? Right? I mean, anyway, not to only to talk about the UK saying that we have problems because the entire world has problems. Amsterdam is also capping flights until November, if I'm not mistaken, or even December. So it's really, and the stories, the truck is here. You can hear it go past, maybe. The stories I've been hearing, when I was in Islamabad, I had two people there that came from the Netherlands, obviously from Amsterdam, and my God, I mean, it's almost as if, London Heathrow is fantastic next to that. We never had like 5 kilometers queues outside of the terminal or something.
No.
It is insane.
And it's frustrating because Amsterdam was always, you never had to worry about it. It would just work, and you never had to worry about. I mean, sometimes you'd have a really long taxi, but you never had to worry about
that runway, which is
that one.
Rotterdam.
You didn't have to worry about making connections. You didn't have to worry about anything like that. Security. It just seemed to work, and we were like, why can't Heathrow be like Schiphol? And now it's the opposite.
The opposite, yeah. So but same problems everywhere. These numbers are from, I think, July, so I wouldn't count. In Europe, which airport do you think had the most delays? I think they're for July. It could be for June, because I called these numbers in July, so maybe they're like
delays.
They're a bit passé now. But which airport do you think had the most delays in Europe?
In Europe, my initial reaction would have been Heathrow.
No. And a hint, it makes me happy.
Oh, Frankfurt.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, we don't hear about this a lot in the news, but when I read that ranking, I went online, and indeed, airports, especially Frankfurt, has a lot of issues as well. Delays could also mean sometimes a 5-minute delays, but here they're talking about the number of delays to the airport. I think so. I'll quickly: first Frankfurt, second Amsterdam, third Charles de Gaulle. Gatwick is fourth, and Heathrow is fifth, and then Munich, Athens, and I forgot the other ones. I don't have them in front of me. So I mean, we love Charles de Gaulle in Frankfurt, but yeah. So you see, I think every single one of us, because we live in the countries we live in, have a tendency to only focus on the news of our countries. But Frankfurt has a lot of issues as well. I don't know if they're comparable or not to the ones at Heathrow. They're all different, right? But I mean. To talk about good news, one of the airports that is not mentioned in that is Madrid. Madrid is opening a new spotter area. Have you seen that?
I have not seen that.
That's really cool.
Wow.
So they actually are opening, I don't know, you have to go on Google Maps to find it, and probably the website will have information. They have actually opened a place next to a runway so people with their cameras can actually take pictures of the flight landing. I love that initiative. It's really fantastic.
We don't talk about that anymore because it all shut down, but what a treat.
And it's open between 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 during the summer and 8 to 7 during the winter, which I think it's probably next month or something.
Is it airside or is it landside? Must be.
No, so it's you're just it's like for spotters. So you don't need a ticket. You don't need So you just, I think you have to drive there. That's the only question. But probably you're carrying 5 lenses and 25 cameras and whatever. But it's really well organized. I've seen a few pictures online, and that's a good idea. I love it because you can see here with Big Jet, all these guys, they have to kind of find ways to place themselves, but there's not like an official, like a nice space that is catered for people that want to take pictures. I love the initiative.
I do too. That's fantastic news.
And more on your past experience with Vueling. Another reason, when we discuss about Vueling, it's one. Usually when we criticize an airline, there will always be someone in the comments or by email that will defend the airline. Mm-hmm. Didn't happen with Vueling. So guys, if anyone wants to defend Vueling, please go ahead. That story of I think it was Barcelona, a Vueling flight supposed to go to Birmingham, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have the notes in front of me. And there's suddenly a loud bang, burning smell, and the pilot runs off. Just leaves the aircraft.
Oh, yeah, I've read about it.
One more reason to fly Vueling. You can trust their pilots as well. Wow. Have you seen that Dan Gare, the friend that you made at your flight, said, as a final kick in the teeth to the whole sorry saga, I had an email from Vueling today telling me my 2 flights, 15 hours combined delay, had earned me the grand sum of 280 avios. 280. That's great.
It's that whole experience was abhorrent, and funnily enough, somebody posted in the BA Flyer Talk forum earlier this week, and they had basically had the same experience that Dan and I and others had, and I like even down to the people at the gate. Then they mentioned names. I'm like, I know that MFer. I know exactly who you're talking about. That they're still employed is mind-boggling to me. I think after I read it and I just sat there shaking my head, going, "Oh, I know what this." The thing that I sat there with was how many people IAG or BA brought over from Vueling to make BA better.
Yeah, it's true. You're right.
Like their head of brand, their customer service, all these. I'm like, are you? No, it explains a lot, but holy crap. I mean, what a...
And BA seems to be going more and more. They announced a new base in Madrid. So they already had in May announced a base. Basically, they're sidestepping all the Brexit rules.
Yeah.
Because they're saying we don't have enough staff. So since we cannot bring them here, we're going to basically base ourselves in Madrid. So now BA is becoming more and more a Spanish airline in a way. So there's a second base. Yeah. So if you basically, when you fly short haul, you'll probably have Spanish or probably EU hired staff because they're... Anyway. It's hard because, guys, we want to love BA. At least I want, and I don't.
Yeah, I want to. Me too.
And it's right now you make it so easy to criticize.
Yeah.
But again, let's not do only them. There was a story that was told given to me in Amsterdam. So yeah, the target will be Amsterdam today. Since we're talking about delays and the luggage situation, we've had a few stories that I'll start with that because it's just a personal story. But there was this flight at Amsterdam, and the captain comes on the PA and says, "There's no one to load the luggage." So we will go. So the crew, the staff will go in the airport, will go and load the luggage themselves. But the pilot adds, well, we don't have enough time to do that before our slots. So we're asking 4 to 5 strong passengers to come help us out and load the luggage in the aircraft. So look, I love this. I would, and when we exchanged about this, we both said the same thing. We would be raising our hands first. I want to do that.
Absolutely.
Right?
How they thought that was a good idea with liability and security.
That's my issue. Not issue, but should not we be having some security clearance to get on the tarmac and do that kind of stuff? I don't know. But they were giving apparently the passengers were giving high-vis vests, and they did it.
I would have done that in a heartbeat.
Me too, man. It's an experience. That's better than going to the Windsor suites, and I would just love to load luggage for maybe not as a job. I get that it's a tough one, but yeah. Delta, I think, did we mention that last time? Delta has sent a full plane
Yes.
of baggage handlers to Heathrow.
Baggage handlers, and then a plane full of bags too, or planes to bring bags
come back. Yeah.
How embarrassing.
We're getting a good reputation. But the best one for me is Qantas. So Qantas asks senior executives to help out at as airport baggage handlers for the next, I think, 3 months.
Good.
So if you're like in a cubicle and paid a high salary, you probably don't have a cubicle, you have a nice office, you'll have to actually load luggage, which, be part of the solution. I like that.
I do too.
Right. And next door in Bali, by the way, a friend of mine arrived in Bali. You need currently at Denpasar, that's the closest airport, the Bali airport, you need 5 hours to clear immigration, which tells you that everywhere it's a mess. So Bali from Australia, since I just mentioned Australia, do you like your McMuffins, Alex?
I do. Unfortunately, that is a significant weakness.
That's your kryptonite.
I do. I love those things. I don't have them very often, but oh my God, they're satisfying.
Yeah, because for me, McDonald's is made for either you're a kid or you're drunk. That's the two situations where you go because you have kids, or you are a kid, or
a drunk kid.
But we assessed early on that we are kids, so because that's our excuse to go. So there's this Australian passenger that left Bali and came to Australia, and he illegally brought into the country McMuffins, and of course was arrested at the border.
Oh, is it because it's imported food, or because
food,
it's pork?
Basically, you cannot. I think you cannot. Any kind of food which is not, industrial packaging, like that is been made in a factory. If it's made in a restaurant, you cannot bring it. And the guy hid them in there in his backpack or something.
But why would you want hours old McMuffin?
Yeah, but there's something, maybe he was drunk first.
Maybe he's drunk and forgot. Yeah.
No, but also there's something to say about. It's like the old pizza, maybe, I don't know. I never tried McMuffins 12 hours later. But
I also have not. Yeah, okay, fair, fair. We haven't.
These things tend to, with all what they put in them, tend to stay good for a long time. The US guys in the US, you also have issues. We had the story. A friend of mine, Hiroko Tabuchi, she's a writer.
Oh my God.
At the New York Times. I knew her, of course, when I was living in Japan. She used to be at AP and Wall Street Journal. Both in my time, so we're talking 10 years ago now, she works there. She was flying United at Newark, and of course there's staff shortages, but on top there was weather issues, and on top there's everything on top of the other. She stayed for 9.5 hours on the plane that just taxied on the tarmac, and then ran out of fuel, and then the crew hours were up. I mean,
it's like some kind of Kafka-esque nightmare. On a United flight, taxiing around Newark in perpetuity. That is.
I didn't realize that a flight. Of course, it seems logical, but I don't think I've ever heard of a flight not having any fuel anymore because they've just been taxiing for too long.
I
thought that was only like in Paris or Amsterdam when they're like super far runways when you might, but no. So you can taxi all day long. It's a pretty cool. I don't know.
She captured. I mean, she's a journalist, of course. She captured it beautifully on Twitter.
Yeah.
This ongoing. It was. She kept her. I mean, at least the way she wrote it, she kept her humor about herself, which
She's like that.
admire.
I think she kept her cool and humor.
Oh, I admire that because I would. I mean, and they don't have the protections that we have here in the continent of Europe. So you just think someone would have had the wherewithal to go, you know what? We're going to kill this thing. Come on, everybody off. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah. Or at least let you, just just stay in the terminal and not on the flight forever. I mean, I get it, because as long as you're on the flight, as soon as it's ready, they can leave, whatever. But I mean, 9.5 hours.
Unbelievable.
She would have come to London by then, or
she's
even
go to Denver.
Yeah, and then she took the Amtrak, I think, in the end. Why? What else?
What a joke.
U.S. Airlines announced that they are going to cut, I think, 40,000 flights as well until November. So it's affecting everyone, right? Yeah. And United, of course, we love to hate United. Everybody does, but guys, promise, because we have the United Union of crew or something that is listening to this episode, so we love you as well. United, the heads were trying to kind of PR their way out of this by saying, yeah, it's all the fault of ATC and the FAA, and it's not our fault, and they had to apologize and say, well, actually, you know what? Because then the FAA said, okay, these are the numbers. They're like, oh, yeah, well, actually, yeah, so they're like everywhere. I think all the airlines oversold, not realizing they won't have enough staff and they cannot hire fast enough. There's not enough people available, and they just have no choice.
Yep.
They have to be realistic and cancel flights. I think that's just this. Otherwise, it just creates like meltdowns over meltdown.
Yeah.
There's just no. Before we go, just this story I caught because I thought about you for some reason, even though you don't fly Delta. There was on Twitter. I think it was a month ago. There was, I don't know who she is. Maybe she's also a journalist. That was on Twitter. She said, a special price today to Delta for letting me and my husband into their lounge because we have a specific credit card, and informing us that our 4-year-old would have to pay a fee or wait outside because she is not a card holder. I mean, this is where I get that the lounges are all full, but this is when it gets like, guys, she's 4 years old. And have you had ever issues with your kids? I mean, usually you told us many, many times that, for instance, when you were entering lounges here at Heathrow, they will wave you through.
Yeah, I mean,
or not, or simply say you can't, but just like these.
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned because I did fly a leg on Delta this summer and ran into something very similar. But with my, if the lounge is empty and I have 2 of my kids in tow, every now and then they'll go like, yeah, go on then. But not with 3. I mean, and I don't expect it either.
So. 3, maybe, yeah, I get it.
But no, it's American, and maybe we'll come on to that a little bit later, but the American systems for priority, exclusivity, it's all so complicated.
Systems. There's like we announced 500 different groups before group 1 can be entering the aircraft. Oh my God! You'll tell us we'll do maybe more 20 minutes of stories, and then you'll tell us of all the stories you've been through. Because I absolutely want to talk about Lufthansa, which I missed last time. First, so I mentioned earlier, there's issues at German airports, also at Lufthansa. The pilots have overwhelmingly, I think it's more than 96%, 97% voted to strike. It seems like everybody is striking these days in every single country. So they're also canceling thousands and thousands of flights, and there's queues at the airports. So it's really the same thing. A friend of mine, actually, she was traveling from Poland to Switzerland, and she was flying with Lufthansa. Her flight got cancelled, and she told me this. I know it's not going to make everybody happy, but she told me, Germany is now France. They strike more than the French. She ended up flying a lot, and she was very happy about them. I know. I just French bashed and German bashed in one single sentence here. There was this article that I'm not going to read out loud because it's very long, but there was an article I need to find. I'll try to put the link on the show notes of Lufthansa flight attendant that says that he's in his mid-30s, has been working for 11 years at Lufthansa, and says in this article, I think it was maybe in Spiegel or whatever, that he has never experienced, or maybe I cannot tell, I don't remember, never experienced such chaos in all the career. And the thing that was the most striking, it's a house of cards. Like, it cannot be fixed. As in, there's not enough staff, but there's not enough staff to train the new staff. There's not enough people that have the right qualifications. So, and because of all these things, the airline apparently is stretching its own rules. So they have all, the training, the yearly training, refresher courses that are supposed to do. They are either not happening or they're like super light. So, and that includes, the evacuations on board if there was an issue. These kind of things. We're not talking about, how to use the IFE and how to say hello to a passenger, not the nice things, but also the important things. Yeah. And all these are basically suspended. Which means that some flight attendants don't have valid license. licenses where they're actually flying. And so they cannot board the aircraft, which adds then to more staff shortages. Of course, there's, because I know no one wants to talk about it, but there's still, and I think EWR sent us, maybe sent you as well, but sent me at least messages. There's very high rate of absenteeism, sick days, basically, because of COVID. It's still, again, COVID, it doesn't kill maybe, but, leave you out. We said that commission for a week or two, or even more if you have long COVID. So all this is putting the workforce on its knees, and suddenly that in that same article, this flight attendant says that they're asking for crazy amount of hours, and like everything is last minute. They need to change the schedule all the time, and is he thinking, or is she thinking about quitting? But it's really, they cannot have like a normal life. They don't know when they're going to fly, where they're going to fly, for how long they're going to be away. So if you have a family as a flight attendant, you cannot manage your life. And it's because there's no advanced assignments of flights anymore, because they're really like super last minute.
I had no idea it was as bad as this.
And it's purely chaos, right? So it's, and you received actually, you didn't receive that, but you received, like me, this email from, was it the CEO, probably not the CEO himself, of apologizing on the all this mess. I think it was a month or two ago. And is it because of all that they lost their 5 stars on Skytrack? I think they never were supposed to get a 5.
With all of the AvGeek snark on Twitter, that was the prevailing sentiment. It's like, okay, order has been restored.
Yeah, order has been restored. I mean, it was a promise of having better service and better, especially business class, in the future, which, by the way, never happened. There's an irony there. They have received new 350s with seats, pretty much, I think, what Virgin has. Really good seats. Yeah. However, it is not their business class. What they did is, because Philippine Airlines was in dire straits, they bought the brand new 350s from Philippine Airlines, fitted with Philippine Airlines seats, and then they just put a little bit of orange on them and said, "These are our new seats." Now, these 4 aircrafts are Philippine Airlines design seats procured for Philippine Airlines. And now you're going on the press and say, "Look, we have 4 new A350s with a new business class." No, it's not, guys. It's just don't do that. Yeah, so they're 4 stars again, which order has been restored in the Republic of the the Empire. It's so basically now all the 5 stars are again all in Asia. Yeah, which makes NA, Asian, Cathay, they're not even flying. Eva, Garuda, Hainan, Japan Airlines, Korean and Asiana, for me, I don't understand if they're 1 or 2, but there's still 2 brands. Qatar and Singapore, obviously. So I think they had Lufthansa. They're not giving any food in economy anymore, stuff like that. I mean, that's really.
Oh yeah, then you're gonna lose your 5 star, your 5th star.
Yeah, should they even be a 3? Oh my God, now Lufthansa's gonna hate me for saying that. I'm still gold on them because they keep renewing me. However, one good thing is that Deutsche Bahn, so the German railway system, has joined Star Alliance.
Oh yeah.
I kind of like these ideas. I would love to, if I go to see you in Kent and use a train, I would love to have those on.
Well, and also I think in Europe, continental Europe, where you have mainline rail service going right into the airports, selling it as a connection, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, 100%. No, 100%. You're absolutely right, 100%. What else? Yes. So we just talk about Skytrax. David Bizer, I think you know him, he's based in Paris, a good friend of mine. And he was at Charles de Gaulle. I think returning to the US, and he tells me, there's a screen saying that Charles de Gaulle was voted best airport in Europe by Skytrax. I'm like, what? How?
Every freaking airport in the world seems to have that sign up at the same time.
Yes, right. Is it a pay-to-play thing?
I think it's a pay-to-play thing. I also think that there's so many categories, like, I don't know, best water fountains, according to Skytrack, means Skytrack Gold Airport. It's
Best one, yes.
it's nonsense. I think so much of it. I mean, it is a pay to play thing, and I think the more subjective editorial awards are far more valuable to the consumer than these ones that are just an industry circle jerk.
Yeah, absolutely. I love your description. It's actually perfect. And since we're on Charles de Gaulle, so Air France has revealed their new interiors. They're really nice. The first one was going to be on a 777, ER. I think it will be in the autumn, in the fall, that is going to go to New York. And they have like new seats in business class with a door, very similar to what we've seen now on BA and Virgin and others. They're made by Safran, so French made, but they look very similar. I'm at loss seeing the big difference between that and BA's. Probably like the seat is angled in 48 degrees instead of 45 degrees or something like that, and there's a baguette hidden in somewhere in the seat. But no, they're really cool. Sorry, I was not dissing, but they're really nice, and they the bed is 2 meters long, wow. So which for me is fit. Great because that's yeah, I'll fit. Because as always for me, I should maybe one day I should just do my own Skytrax about which airlines have a bed that can seat me, because some of the great products of this world in terms of premium products are not made for me. No. So no. I'll talk about that next time. We had a lot of feedback, but I didn't take much notes. I'm just going to mention. Since we're on Charles de Gaulle, Dave Morales on Twitter, who said that we enjoyed the recent episode and especially your description of, I think it was Valencia. And he says that there's a new flagship Air France lounge at Charles de Gaulle 2F, which is spectacular. He even says it's very Cathay Pacific-ish. Oh. And having looked at the pictures, I now understand why there were works for so long at 2F. And because before that, the lounge, maybe they still exist, they were like almost like hidden underground or something. Mm-hmm. It's magnificent. Oh, it's really, the pictures, I've not seen it. So if you guys are at Charles de Gaulle's and you have access to that lounge, please let us know, because it looks really, really, really indeed spectacular, like Dave is saying. And Luca Belpassi, one of our beloved listener, sent me an email, and he's actually has seen an EasyJet aircraft where they removed seats.
Oh, wow.
They exist. So, and he was flying, I think, Linate to Gatwick, that's what he said, and where he had the row to 26 with his family, and when he entered the aircraft, there was no seats on the row.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So anyway, they were in the flight was apparently not full, so they were able to jiggle the thing. But there was there were seats that were missing. So it seems that the legend is true. EasyJet has removed seats to allow for having less staff. If you guys have seen it, thanks, Luca, very much. Yeah. And of course, he thanks us for this. He says, keep up the good work on layovers. So thank you very much, Luca. But if you guys have seen other crazy stories like that, please let us know. And finally, Emirates, which I haven't flown since February, was it? And now the truck is passing by. Maybe you're going to hear it, guys. I'm sorry. Have you seen Emirates? $2 billion of upgrades to all their aircrafts.
They've come out of this smelling like roses, haven't they? I mean, they keep pushing for a 380 replacement, but they've also they've continued to put their money where their mouth is and invested heavily in what is already a phenomenal product, because they're not going.
What I love about this is that, you remember we talked about this, and you've seen it as well. You've flown as well, Emirates. That it, depending on the aircraft you were in, you could see like the age of the product. It was always the same, but some were clearly installed like maybe 8 years ago, and some were installed like a year ago, and you could see a difference, which is fair enough. Now they're going to do all their aircraft. They're going to of course they're going to put all the premium economy, which have been announced, so they're going to retrofit everything, but they're going to retrofit every single class, everything. They are, and 380s and 777s. And I took the note because it was pretty crazy here. They said, so they did trials in July, apparently, on the 380, where engineers took each cabin apart piece by piece and logged every step. They tested every single action, timed them, and mapped them out. And now they know that they can do like an entire refit in 16 days.
Wow.
And so they will have, I think it's 4 planes. Is it more? I forgot now. I probably have it somewhere in my notes, but it doesn't matter. Like in a really fast click, they're going to put them, do this thing, put them back on in service. And they're going to do first, I think, the 380s and then the 777s. They need 400,000 square meters of carpet, 68,000 kilograms of paint, and 1,000 man hours per day to actually do that project. Yeah, it's and they're gonna really. I don't think we're gonna see like new. It's not gonna be like a new business class or a new. The products we know them, but they're all gonna be new and like fresh.
And I suppose the proliferation of the premium economy as well, where.
And yeah, exactly. I think they took the opportunity to say, let's not just do the premium economy, let's refresh the entire thing. And I've never told a story. I will tell one day when I flew that first new first of Emirates, this crazy seat when you have like these virtual windows and everything. The motifs were slightly different, slightly upgraded, and I think they will go along with that, which is more modern. I would even say less tacky approach to gold and wood. So, but I mean, it's great, and they say that they're expecting 100% capacity, so the return to full post COVID like early next year. So they're on track, and like you said, Tim absolutely wants Airbus to do a new. Jumbo jet.
Exactly, a high capacity airplane,
because he says every single aircraft that leaves London is full, and they're all 380s. They're all full. There's no more capacity. It needs more capacity. And I read something here. I had just the numbers. He said, so the 777-9, whenever that comes to market, he says, because of course... In Emirates configuration, will seat 364 people. The 380 seats 484. So that's
significant
120 difference. It's big. It's a big difference, right? And so he wants, like he says, whatever a bigger 350 probably won't cut the chase. So I don't know. 360, 379, 381 plus.
I don't know what they're going to do.
Pro Max.
I mean, they've said that they would buy lots of them, whatever this airplane is, but I don't think that they would reopen the 380 production line for a single customer.
No, I don't think so. Or they, unless Emirates basically buys that line or something, and just basically the UAE buys it, because other airlines are not keen to.
No, there's no one else who's in the same boat.
They don't have the model for it. Only Emirates does. But he says, and he's probably right. He says the market, so the passenger traffic was growing by 4.5% per year before COVID, and he's tracking to go that again. So it says in 10 years, no more capacity, and everybody wants to go to the same airports. Maybe you'll see, Alex. Maybe you'll see like 380s in Manston or something, because there will not be any choice. There's not going to be enough room.
You prove me wrong, Manston. Prove me wrong.
And they will have also all the staff will go through Swiss hospitality training for cabin crew. So it's probably the very famous hospitality schools. 2 or 3 out of the famous ones are in Switzerland, in Montreux and Lausanne. There will be a cinema in the sky. I don't know what that means. I think it's only for first class. I don't understand. Maybe like an even bigger screen. I have no idea. Yeah. That's what they say in their press release. A cinema in the sky will be revealed once this. I love that. And upgraded menus and forever caviar. I mean, I'm happy I have miles because I want to fly them again. So, Alex, tell us. You were exactly at 1 hour mark, I think. So, tell us. Maybe start with your experience at Heathrow leaving to the US, and then I'll let you speak. You have an hour.
I don't know if I'll need an hour, but...
No, I have other stuff in case you do less. But, I mean, there's so much stuff. So, I'll let you go.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about this before the show, that my BA Heathrow experience was unremarkable, and that is the highest compliment I can pay. Yeah,
exactly. You won that.
It was the first wing was fine. Check-in was as expected. There were no no hiccups this time like last time where the Department of State got involved. So that was all fine. Security was what I expected, and I have to give a shout out to my kids, especially my boys Luke and Jack, because they are just airport supremos. They know exactly, like they put all of the amateurs to shame. All of these people faffing with it, they knew exactly what to do. They're organized and prepared, and they never let me down in airports. I'm always so proud of them. Anyway, but especially in airports and and we had lunch at the Wagamama there, which I appreciate. I'm not a big fan of Wagamama.
It's okay.
I wouldn't go out of my way to go
lunch.
there. But exactly, they at Heathrow, they have it down. It's the right balance of speed and quality. And we were a little pressed for time because I want the kids to be able to go run around a little bit to get a snack and all of that. And we were out at the B gates. And so we walked, and they got a real kick out of being able to walk. And I got a kick out of them being able to burn off some energy before we got on. And it was all fine. Boarding was, it all worked how I felt it used to work 3 or 4 years ago at Heathrow. And even the flight itself was remarkable in that it was the fullest flight I've seen. We were flying to San Jose and not to San Francisco. A, because it was cheaper. B, because it's just easier for where I was going to end up. And we had a 3, and then my eldest son was over the aisle across from me because he's old enough to take care of himself. But the flight was very short for this time of year. It was 10 hours on the nose. And we spent, and I tweeted about this because to me, it was so remarkable. I'm gonna pull up exactly what I said, but we spent the entire cruise almost before we got to Iceland at 43,000 feet.
Oh yeah, you mentioned.
And the operational ceiling of the Dreamliner is 43,007 feet. And because I was looking at the moving map, thinking, I don't ever recall being at 40. I think this is the highest I've ever been on any plane ever in my life. And you have your astronaut wings now.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not looking out the window going, "Oh my God, look how high we are." It doesn't feel any different whatsoever.
Yeah.
But we screamed across the Atlantic and got there very, very quickly. And I tweeted and copied Mark Van Honecker, our friend, and said, Is this normal? And I think he said something like, "Yeah, you'd be surprised how normal that is." It was because clearly there was a very potent jet stream, or we were avoiding wind at every other flight level. But San Jose Airport for international arrivals is a joy because you come in over the Apple headquarters, which is iconic, this ring, and then you land and you turn right onto your gate. That's it. It's like a 20-second taxi.
Wow.
And there's no other international flights anywhere near that during the day. So
I think I've done it once actually. Now that you say that,
it's great, and the immigration people were really friendly. The bags, like the plane's nose is on the other side of the wall from the baggage hall. So so the bags come off really quickly, and anything oversized or unusual like buggies or car seats, the guy just hands them through the wall from the airplane, and so and the crew they were fine. I mean, they were busy, so I haven't had the whole "thank you for flying with us, thank you for being a goal," anything like. I haven't had that in months and months and months and months and months. That's just gone. Either procedurally have eliminated it or just don't care.
They just don't. You haven't had.
I haven't had that
because when you were flying to see Megan a few times in 2020, of course you were alone in the flight. So by the definition, you probably had like "thank you" because you're the last person flying with us. But since then, no.
No, but even then, when those flights got busier, I was still getting that, and I haven't had it on short haul or long haul, and I don't really care.
Wow.
But it is such such low-hanging fruit from a customer experience perspective just to say thank you.
They said that on every, I'm Emerald because, I'm not on the privileged club for Qatar Airways, but because I'm gold on BA, every single time the head of cabin came, thanked me for my costume. You know,
Yeah.
there's, again, we don't need it, but like you say, it's not. It's 20 seconds, and then most people love it.
And the data is so readily available to every crew member
Exactly.
because they all have these. I think they're iPhones.
iPads.
And it's all there. It's right there. So
Yeah, it's all there. I fully agree with you.
it shouldn't.
That's
be
not
that
a
hard.
difficult. It's not a difficult touch point. It's one of the easiest. Actually,
It really is, and it's anyway. But San Jose, I was reminded of what a glorious international entry point that is to the broader Bay Area. So yeah, I mean, again, like unremarkable, and that's probably a good thing given everything else that's going on in the world and with BA. So I was pleased with that. My kids were the least awful kids on the flight, and there were a lot of kids.
That's good.
So I was proud of them. But yeah, and then for the kids and I were together for a couple of weeks and did some stuff, and then Megan and I had.
which is why, by the way, sorry guys, I said I think at the end of the last episode we'll do an episode when I was in the US, and then I said, you know what, he's gonna be with his kids by himself, so hard to find time to do 2 hours, and then you're gonna have a holiday.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, you're gonna tell Megan, I need to talk with Paul for 2 hours about my experience in airports whilst I'm supposed to be on the beach or eating nice Mexican food. I'm like, no way.
Well, it's funny you say that
running his
because
holiday.
the amount of times I was nudged by my wife and told, "Don't forget to tell Paul about that."
She's nice. Thanks. I've never met her, but I already love her.
Yeah, so there was, it was definitely through that lens, and it's a big part of my personality. So of course it just shines through. And we did this. We knew we were going to Mexico, but we booked out of LAX for a week later than our departure on this road trip, and said, okay.
Oh, so you first drove to LA?
Yeah, we wanted to do a road trip down California, and we had no agenda, no route, no hotels booked. All we knew is that we needed to be at LAX on the Sunday, and we'd left the Bay Area on the Monday. And everybody does Highway 1 down the edge of California, the coast of California, and it's beautiful, but we're Californians, so we've both done it, and it's that box is ticked.
Yeah.
I am a big enthusiast of the California Central Valley for many, many reasons. And there are 2 big highways that run down the middle of California. There's I-5, Interstate 5, which runs from the top of the United States down to the bottom of the United States. 2 lanes, very efficient. That's how everybody goes. Boring AF, nothing to see. And then there's 99, which was the original highway kind of that ran, it's further east, and it goes right through the Central Valley, which is one of the most productive agricultural regions on Earth. And I was like pitching.
Is that where they do the almonds and stuff?
They do everything. Almonds, olives, beef, everything. It produces 70+% of America's food, that space between the Bay Area and LA.
Yeah.
And you have, I mean, not to get too off track, but you have in the 19th century, you had people coming from all over the world for the gold rush that then settled to establish farms and these huge ranches, but never left their kind of own cultural identity behind. So you have these villages where the predominant language is Portuguese. Or Szechuanese or whatever, and it's wonderful, and they and of course all of the Central American and Latin American countries are heavily represented as well. So putting that all together, it's a very fascinating place to me. So we kind of meandered all the way down. We'd start inland and then curve back out to places like Morro Bay and Pismo Beach and Santa Barbara, and then I was mapping it all out because I was the only one driving, and I wanted to cap my driving at like 2.5, 3 hours a day, so that if we saw something weird or cool or interesting, we could
just stop. Yeah.
And we went like from 99, we knew we wanted to go to the coast, and we went past Lemoore Air Force Base by accident. That's the way Google told us to go.
Yeah, right.
Well, I had noticed it, and
this is what you tell your wife, but don't tell us.
Well, it's funny you say that because
this is an airport. This is an airport.
I said, "Oh, we're going kind of near Lemoore Naval Air Station," and her eyes lit up. She's like, "Top Gun?" And I'm like, "Actually, kind of yes, it is like Top Gun." And she's like, "Okay, well, we need to go by." And so, again, like the route took us right by the entry gates, and as we did, 2 F-35s come screaming over our heads. like low to do a fast approach, and she was big Top
I hope
Gun
you had
fan.
the music of Top Gun in the
She
car.
was scrambling on her phone trying to find it, but that was a really cool thing. Anyway, we got to Santa Barbara and Pismo Beach and Morro Bay, all these beautiful, spectacular places. And I was thinking about routes, and I was like, I want to show you more of Central California because I'm just fascinated by it. I'm passionate about it. And she said, you're always talking about that place in the desert where they store the airplanes. And I said, Mojave. And she said, let's go there. And I was like, no, that's like 5 hours in the wrong direction. And she's like, are you sure? And I looked it up. I'm like, actually, it's not. It's not 5 hours in there. It's only a couple of hours. And so we could have easily kind of amputated that leg of the trip and carried on down to LA, but she was adamant. And it's such an interesting drive.
She gets you, man.
And which I really appreciate. And we drove through, basically east from Santa Barbara to, and the route takes you through Palmdale and Lancaster, which are these two towns on the other side of the hills from LA. It's also home to very, very big logistical airports. No commercial services, big cargo airports. So all of the major cargo companies have a presence there. Lancaster, Palmdale, a lot of AV Geeks' ears are twitching right now because it comes up a lot. It's also where Lockheed Skunk Works have a major presence. I mean, they're ostensibly based at Burbank, but they build things at this airport. And so we drove past that. And there's this weird little thing called the Blackbird Air Park right in front of, and this is the first time we got yelled at for trespassing on federal property. But there's all of these like NASA buildings and Lockheed and Boeing, like where they do a lot of hypersensitive development and
R&D
and we parked at this little shop because there's two SR-71 Blackbirds, two in the same place, like nose to nose.
Like they're just right there in front of you.
They're on the edge of this 2-lane road.
What?
And it's available. Wow. You can go in, like, I think it's run by volunteers. You can go on Saturdays and Sundays. I think it was a Thursday for us. And we parked, and the guy's like, hey, you can't park there. Do you see all the signs? And he's like, are you here to see the Blackbirds? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, whispers, he's like, park on the other side of that building, and I won't tell anybody. And he's like, you get a way better vantage point. He's like, don't forget the 747. And I was like, the what now?
What?
Beautiful to see these two Blackbirds. And then around the corner is the NASA 747 that was built to carry the space shuttle.
Oh, I saw it when I was a kid, like actually carrying the... Oh, my God. You're so...
Just parked by the side of the road with its brackets and its weird extensions to the tail structure.
No way.
And...
Do you think, did they remove the engines or is it still...
I can't remember.
Did it feel like abandoned?
No,
or
it was
like
curated. It was there, it was curated, and they were in amongst
that's so cool.
There was
I was 5 years old when I saw that in Florida, next to Cape Canaveral, and I saw the freaking thing land with
I see now that I can't even imagine what...
Oh my
but
God.
it was, because it's a NASA heavy area, they were all ex-NASA aircraft. There was a U-2 and a few other experimentals and training. Like one of the ones that looks like I think it's a Sukhoi with the wings on the engines on top of the wing. That one. Anyway, we drove up to this, and it does sound like unnecessarily aviation heavy. A lot of it was from pressure from my wife to do just
pressure. That's not
pressure because she wanted me to and share my enthusiasm with her. And we
of course
we were going through, and the name escapes me. It's going to irritate me. On the way to Mojave, there was this. We were both getting really hungry, and there was this town, Rosamond, California, and we found this pizza joint or sports bar kind of place, and it was and there's not a whole lot in this town at all.
Okay.
So we go into this pizza joint and sit out, and there's it's beautiful. It's in the...
Are you going to tell me you just met an alien there, just having lunch?
Just ordering. It was, it made the pizza, and the pizza was fine. But we're sitting there, and there's it's in the high desert, so it's hot AF, but beautiful. I love that type of that landscape. We're sitting there having a beer, and there's just a bunch of locals in there, and then a patio out behind the restaurant. Except it wasn't a patio; it was a runway, and because this plane lands, and I was like, what? And it was one of those places that you see all over Florida where it was a planned community. And instead of everybody having garages, they have hangars.
That's so cool.
Private airfield. Anyway, that was, I'd never been to one of those before. I thought they were like the
cool.
Legend of John Travolta.
Yeah, exactly.
And we ended up at Mojave in the evening. And you ask Megan now, even to this day, and she will tell you the highlight of the entire trip was Mojave.
Wow.
Not just...
Is it open 24/7? You can just go?
Well, it's a town, and I think that the weirdness of the town was the highlight for her, because it is a huge railroad intersection before they branch to Bakersfield and then north to the Bay Area and the coast, or south, sort of southeast towards LA, or the kind of LA basin. So there's these huge miles-long trains. It's one of the biggest wind farms, and the first wind farms in the world, in the U.S., up in the hills there. I think there's a scene in Terminator 2. If you think about the wind farms, that's it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in the distance, you have the shadow of Mojave Air and Spaceport, and all of the big planes in the distance. And as soon as the sun went down, you had all of the weird air traffic starting again, with all of the guys from Edwards coming, which is right next door. The basin of Edwards Air Force Base sits up against Mojave Air and Spaceport. And so they take off, and they're doing whatever the hell it is they're doing. And she sat on the balcony of our crappy little motel, because that's all there is in Mojave. Like, what's that? What's that? What is that? What are they doing? I'm like, it's not showing up on Flight Rider. I can tell you that right now. But it's such a strange town that it deserves its own documentary or something. And that's even taking the airplanes aside, out of the question.
Yeah,
it's just a weird vibe. And the next morning, there's a little diner on the flight line at Mojave Air and Spaceport that is crap, but it's great because it's crap. It's just classic American diner
I know the feeling,
food on the flight line, and you can see all of the storage yards. And I hadn't been to Mojave in a very long time. I think I dragged Will and Greg up there after we finished filming our LA episode, and that was in
LA. I think you mentioned it. Yes.
I can't remember.
16,
yeah, it was a long time ago.
17.
But what surprised me was on the flight line, there were... Mojave is usually is more of a graveyard than a storage unit. It's where planes go to die and be turned into beer cans. But there was, on this other side away from the cemetery, was this line of airplanes that were all brand new. There was a China Southern A380, and then a Jet Airways 777. God knows where that's going to end up. And then maybe half a dozen each JAL and ANA 777s and 787s.
Wow.
Which were clearly being maintained and stored for
maintained storage.
Return to service.
Wow.
And I went down to the office and asked, because they used to do tours. She's just not doing tours, but we actually make a map for people like you now. And she's like, you can go here and here and here, and you should probably go. I'm not supposed to tell you this, but you should go over here and have a look. And so I went, of course, to the X marks the spot.
Do you drive in that, or you walk?
It's a very strange airport, because it's just kind of a mishmash of these buildings, and one of them is like Virgin Galactic, and the other is Scaled Composites, and people like that. And then on the other side of a fairly substantial wired fence are big hangars for Lockheed and big hangars for NASA, mainly in the propulsion area. And I went to the X, marks the spot, and there was the Virgin Orbit X Virgin Atlantic 747. And so you could go right up to that. Oh. And it had the pod connected in between the number 1 and 2 engines, where they launch whatever the hell it is they launch from there. And I kept saying to Megan, like, we can go. And she's like, no, like, what's that? No, what are they making there? And most of the time I've got no clue, but it's one of those places that's just, it's legendary. What has come out of there and what they do there. And it was absolutely worth the trip to do that. Amazing. And then like back to, you can drive from there to LA in 2 hours. And so we ended up at LAX and had in and out because that was like on her, these are the list of things we need to do list.
That's what you need to do when you're at LAX.
And we were staying right there and it's cool. And she was like, you only wanted to see the big dogs that she's like, I want to be able to feel it in my chest when they fly over. And so, you had a couple of those. But we actually wanted to get to LA a day early because for my birthday, I was given by Megan a flight. Mm-hmm. She's like, I don't know what I need. You have to, I can't book it for you because I don't really know what I'm doing. And so she said, you should pick between like a flight in an old plane or just going flying. And I consulted you on this decision.
Yeah, we discussed it.
And I did the math.
All the options you provided me with were amazing. Yeah. So it was, I don't know.
I narrowed it down to a T6, a flight in a T6 out of somewhere in Southern California, or just a flight. But the flight I wanted to do came to me. I think Sam Choi had done something similar. I wanted to fly. I wanted to fly the airplane myself and get back to doing that. But I wanted to go to Victorville. I wanted to go to fly and do touch and goes at Victorville. And I messaged this flight school in Torrance in California, Southern California, just outside of LAX, and said, this is going to sound weird, but... And they're like, yeah, of course, absolutely. You pay for the plane, you can do what you want within reason. And so it was with the Sling Aviation Academy out of Torrance Airport. And I met the instructor and I told him what I wanted to do. He's like, that sounds awesome. Let's go. And it's in a Sling airplane, which is a South African kit plane.
Yeah.
Which I had heard rumblings of like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but then completely forgotten about. And what a fantastic little airplane. It was stick and throttle like the way I learned how to fly. Canopy. My instructor was like, hey, you're going to do all of this. I'm just going to work the radios because you've flown before. So I taxied it out, and the whole plane was glass. There's not a single steam gauge in the entire airplane, not one. And so I was a little out of my comfort zone, actually. And so he's like, okay, well, just, the physics of an airplane don't change just because it has glass. Just take the plane off, and these are the speeds you need to look for, and then we'll go from there. He showed me how to use this Garmin panel, and it was really, really neat. And I'd never flown in Southern California before, and immediately taking off out of Torrance, you are in contact with Long Beach Airport because you're flying through their airspace. And so you're looking down on Long Beach Airport, and then you're hearing planes going into LAX. And we flew to Seal Beach, if you know California, and then turned towards Victorville. And Victorville is on the other side of these fairly significant, we're talking sort of 5,500 feet range of hills, and you aim for the middle of it, and it gets a little choppy, but it was good, fun, real flying. And when you get through the pass, the elevation changes significantly because it's on this sort of plateau. LA, of course, the whole LA basin is ostensibly at sea level. And you go up, and of course everything changes, and it's a completely different landscape. And then in the distance materializes all of these airplanes. And the airport is in the middle of nowhere. And Victorville is in itself, there's not a lot there. It's just sort of desert, Breaking Bad suburbs. Not even suburbs, just rural. And then there's this huge airport. And he's like, okay, you want to land it, or do you want to take pictures? And I was like, can I fly and you take pictures? And he's like, yeah, of course. And coming in, I got he didn't take that many pictures because he was also trying to make sure I didn't crash the airplane because I hadn't done a lot of flying in a while. But there must have been easily 100 airplanes, airliners there.
Yeah.
The vast majority were FedEx, but you name an airline and they had an airplane there, at least one airplane. Almost all of which, unlike Mojave, could probably be put back into service within a week.
Yeah, I think they have a capacity for like 500, 600 aircraft.
Yeah.
There. I think this is one of their specialty.
And he said, and I thought, wow, this is, I've never seen anything like this. And he said, oh man, when I came here last year, I think there was probably twice as many airplanes, which you could believe.
Wow.
But Oman Air, LATAM, Air Europa, Etihad, EVA, China Southern, the vast majority Dreamliners, Qantas used it as their heavy storage area. So there were Dreamliners, 2 or 3 A380s of theirs, some in various states of kind of preparation for storage, like completely covered every possible Windows, everything. And then others,
everything, yeah.
The guys said that an A380 had just left, had gone back home to go back into service. And I'm sort of like trying to land the airplane. The first time I landed an airplane in at least a year.
Which runway?
It would have been on...
No, because if I remember correctly, there's there's one of the runways was super, super long because of the heat. So they had to kind of... Is it 15,000?
Yeah, it was that
They had
one.
to do a super long just because of heavies that had to, because of the heat to take more, I think.
The big southerly runway we landed on. And so a lot of room for error. And I did it. I'm kind of like trying my best to land the airplane, and also kind of look out the side of my, to see what I could see, and flew back and all that stuff. And flying back was great, and gave us more of an opportunity to talk. But you're coming into very, very busy airspace, and then a 777 flies over the top of you, heading to LAX from, I think, Hawaii, and you're like, man, this is super cool. So thank you, Megan, for that experience. I logged 2.5 hours of flying, which was...
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was
Thank you, Megan.
Yeah, that was...
we had the story as well.
It was great, and Victorville was massive bucket list for me. I wish I could have spent more time there. You can't land there because I think the landing fees are insane, and they don't really want to encourage kind of AV geek tourism. But yeah, that was awesome for me, and kind of rekindled my desire to get back into the cockpit. But yeah, I mean, and I'll talk briefly about the flights to and from Mexico. But
no, don't worry, go. We have half an hour. You have all the time you need.
Yeah, I mean, for me, those weird kind of AV geek esoterica were the highlights. From an aviation perspective for me. But I think, I don't travel much domestically in the U.S., so I'm always sort of slightly more, I'm listening and looking a little bit more than I would if I was going to Frankfurt or Spain, because
from LAX, where were you flying to?
We flew to Cabo.
But I mean, the routing was directly
LAX Cabo and Delta 737-900, and
so
it was good. In Terminal 3, I've not spent much time in at all, even though I think...
First of all, why did you choose Delta? Was it because everything was just easier in terms of
timings and cost? Right? It just ended up being the best.
You're going to make a lot of people happy to have flown Delta. We have a lot of Delta fans.
When I wanted to try it, I wanted to see what would happen as well with the continuing... at least sort of status matching and benefit that they have with Virgin Atlantic. I wanted to see what my gold with Atlantic would yield to Delta. Spoiler.
You're right, I have gold. Why did I not on Virgin? I should try Delta before I lose the gold on Virgin.
Didn't mean a whole lot. But Terminal 3 was easy. TSA pre-check, security, it was fine. Breeze, there was only 3 or 4 people ahead of us. And then to the lounge. And I go into the lounge, and they have this sort of downstairs entry area with 5 or 6 desks. And I said, I'm, show my boarding pass. She's like, are you Delta, whatever the hell they are, premium, ultra, platinum, turbo.
Exactly.
And I said, no, I'm Virgin Atlantic Gold. And she's like, okay. She's like, and she pulls out this chart and she's like, okay, Virgin Atlantic Gold, traveling domestically. I'm like, no, it's not domestic. I'm going to Mexico. She's like, yeah, but it's not ticketed on from. Hey, Karen, could you, blah, 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 blah. No, I don't think so. Check what happens if you scan it.
That's very, you know what you're describing there is so very American domestic. Every single time I had to find, I don't know if it's your experience, but it's always, they don't know this.
Well, no, and it's so, the chart that she had, this laminated piece of paper, was so complicated. And I said, what happens if I scan it? And she scans it and she's like, it says, it doesn't give me anything definitive. And so I'm like going through my wallet. And I'm like, I got one of these and I got one of these and I got one of these. And she's like, okay, well, we can get you in on this one, the American Express. And she's like, and we can get your wife in on this one, my Priority Pass. And so my status with Virgin did not mean anything to get me into the lounge. Oh. But we got in there and I was showing you pictures and it was interesting. We had a conversation because Mel had an experience there as well. But it was, to me, a very cool lounge because it had this terrace area that, okay, yes, it had 10-foot glass, but then it was open to the elements and you could smell the jet fuel and hear the planes landing and see them as they just passed in and out. And that, for me, is like, that's all I need. On top of pretty good food, pretty good coffee, but then, of course, you go to the bar and you're like, can I have this? And I'm like, they've got this chart of what drinks you can get for free.
This is so mad.
And I get it's a business, but it was.
Yeah, but it's so much different from what we used to in Asia and in Europe. In Europe, when you're in a lounge, basically everything in the lounge is free. Yeah. Right? There's no tier, additional cost. Maybe some of the number one, the non-airline lounge will have some system of paying, but literally every single, in Asia in particular, everything that is in the lounge is free. You can sit on any seat and it's free. The sofa you don't have to pay for. No, I'm kidding. But it's very weird.
It is weird, but
I know you're more used to yourself. You're more used to it. But every time I'm like,
kind of see the rationale where if you,
me too,
people are particularly loyal to a top shelf vodka or whatever, they're going to pay the $5 because they can probably expense it.
Yeah, true. True.
But it was a morning flight, so there was a breakfast.
But hold on, before it should be so easy to have, instead of having a chart, to have like you just mentioned at the entrance, something that is just digital and right away, what is it free, what is not, instead of having to go.
No, you're right. Sorry, you're right. And I mean, it should be easier. From a lounge perspective, it was good. The food was pretty good, and every kind of coffee. They all these American lounges have these vending machines for any type of coffee as well as drip coffee, and then the Coke machines where you can make all these weird combinations. But I liked it as a lounge. It was very light and airy. But what did I say it was? T3 is going through a bit of a renovation. So when you get down to the gate, there's like temporary shops. They had the only permanent shop, and my kids lost their minds when I told them this. They have I wrote it down because they play so many, a Call of Duty Modern Warfare cafe. Where you could, there was 10 or 12 workstations set up where you can just go and smash it. And my kids were like, we need to go there now and play that. But the only thing that got me, the only benefit I got from being gold on Atlantic was, I think I was in the second highest priority group for boarding.
Oh.
And in terms of picking seats, I didn't have to pay for any of that, where I think ordinarily...
Including for Megan.
Yeah, because we were on the same PNR, so she inherited those benefits. And so even things like exit rows or whatever, there's 5 different economy seats that you had to pick from. And I had booked for Megan the weird seats you get sometimes where they're next to the emergency exit, so there's no seat in front of them. So you have unlimited legroom. Yeah. She would not. She refused to take it, and made me take it.
Oh well,
which I appreciated. But I always joke. I think whenever I fly, I always post on Instagram or something like, your IFE screen, which is nice. They all have is like a good 10 feet in front of you. And my remote didn't.
It's a touch screen, so
My remote didn't work either because you have like one of the Panasonic. And every time I wanted to just like put the map on, I had to do this awkward thing, and my face would go right next to the person in the seat in front of me. I just gave up. But Delta are fine. They do like a snack and soda service, and it was a very. It's like 2 and a bit hours to Cabo.
Yes, it's fine.
But we landed in Cabo during the mother of all thunderstorms. And so it was a wild ride down into Cabo San Lucas Airport, SJD. You're rolling around and you're shaking and all of that stuff. And entry into Mexico is still quite a bureaucratic process. A lot of paperwork to fill in. I mean,
because of COVID.
No,
you mean?
it's always been that way. As long as I can remember, every I think I've flown into 5 or 6 airports in Mexico. It's always the same, lots and lots of.
It's been a while for me.
Yeah, it's a lot of paperwork.
But really, yeah, you mentioned because I remember when we talked about what was it?
Monterrey, exactly.
You
That was my first exposure to it. Anyway, it's
you
fine.
mentioned all the paperwork,
and then of course, Cabo is. That whole part of Mexico is very popular with Americans. And so
yeah, of course,
a lot of flights landing from all over the U.S., maybe 200 people in immigration ahead of us. It took...
That's why they consider it almost as a domestic when you were trying to get into that.
And it only took 20 minutes. They knew they just zipped us through. And we didn't spend any time in Cabo. It wasn't a place that attracted us. And then we rented a car and spent the next 5 days bouncing around the southern tip of Baja California. And we didn't book any hotels in advance. We just...
Same than before, just drove and...
Where the wind took us, we discovered some... I tried to document as much as I could on Instagram, just for...
I saw a lot of food. They seemed really good.
I mean, roadside tacos are the best kind of taco.
Exactly.
It was great. It was great. And just a great part of Mexico. I would love to spend more time there, these little villages where the quote-unquote original Hotel California is, which obviously can't be because it's an idea. It's not a place.
Yeah, exactly.
But in a beautiful little town.
You know your lyrics. Yeah.
But La Paz, so we decided to fly into Cabo and then out of La Paz, which is just around the peninsula from Cabo.
And we should repeat La Paz,
Mexico.
The one there and not
in Bolivia. That would have been a hell of a road trip. And with the idea of we would slowly drive. But actually, we fell in love with this little town on the Pacific coast and stayed there and just ended up...
Oh, nice.
We spent a day in La Paz, which was a cool city in and of itself. But the airport is kind of... Like, you go on Wikipedia and you read about the airport, and there's like 2 sentences. It's not like every other airport where it's like, here's the history and all these things happen. Yeah, here's all the airlines and all. There's like 2 sentences. There's.
Is it a big airport or like is it?
It's one of those airports that there's general aviation traffic. There's the Mexican Federal Police. There's the Coast Guard. It's definitely the definition of multi-use. It's a single runway airport where you turn around at the end of the runway and come back. Like, it's also used as a taxiway because it's so quiet. The flight we took, which is American Airlines, it's only like once a week or once or twice a week. Oh, wow. So it's
okay.
And it's home to these airlines. Like, I was looking around.
You were flying to Phoenix.
We were flying to Phoenix because there was no other service.
Oh, so that was the flight for 1 week was the one to Phoenix. So you flew
one to Phoenix and one to Dallas, I think, at some point in the week. But you look around and you're like, never heard of that airline, never heard of that airline, never heard of that airline. And of course, Aeromexico, Viva Aerobus, Volaris, the big Mexican, but also TAR, Calafia, Aeromar, never heard of them. There are these little regional domestic Mexican carriers with ATRs and ERJs and things like that. Neat to see, like, not just 1 but 3 airlines I'd never heard of. And it was the home, La Paz Airport was the home of Aero California, which was a pretty significant Mexican airline.
That one I know.
From 1960, they started with DC-3s, and they ended and they ran out of money in 2008, but you'd see them in LAX all the time. And at the edge of the airport is this row of 8 dilapidated DC-9s.
Oh, wow. You can see.
California DC-9s, yeah.
That, wow.
Just sitting there. And obviously they haven't been touched since 2008. So very, very cool to see. And it's, of course, it's like a walkout to the airplane type of deal. So this American Airlines, I can't even remember, I think it's SkyWest, Mitsubishi CRJ, or whatever they want, because it's taller, so it's a Mitsubishi CRJ. Pulls up, people get off, not many, 15. The cabin crew are also pulling the bags off the airplane, and then we're escorted out onto this. You climb up the stairs that are built into the aircraft door, which feels like real flying, onto this dark cabin because they have all the window shades closed because it was really effing hot.
Yeah.
Nice mood lighting. And this is the main difference, one of the main differences between regional travel in the US and regional travel in Europe. And we've gone over this, but even on a tiny little RJ, there were first class seats.
Yeah.
There may be,
I don't know.
this
difference of culture, of philosophy. It's true.
I mean, from a revenue management perspective, it seems insane to me because you can't adjust the capacity. Like that's the business thinking. Why we don't have that here in Europe is that I can sell like 20 rows of business class seat if the demand is there, because I just
that happens when you go to Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. From here, you basically the entire aircraft is in business class because they just remove the middle seat. They just block it.
They don't do that, exactly. and it was a very kind of casual flight, and you get same deal. You get a drink service and some peanuts or whatever, and it was a 2.
I'm wondering. Sorry to interrupt. I'm wondering if they also kind of not. I mean, first of all, planes could be various routes, and some routes it makes obviously sense to have the first class, but maybe they just can't remove them because it would be like such an uproar for all the very loyal flyers that usually fly first class that if they were to be given a seat like in Europe in business class, whatever, they would just not accept it. So they just don't dare doing that, and just they keep these first class seats, and they're just locked into that.
I don't know. I mean, the first class cabin I think was pretty full, and I think a lot of it was status upgrades.
As always.
or whatever. But it's a very interesting flight because you fly basically up the middle of the Gulf of California, which is stunning, and then cross the border in southern Arizona. And that just makes you appreciate just how gargantuan the United States is, because you're just flying and flying and flying and flying. And there's all these little weird airfields in the middle of nowhere. These odd little airports, the combination of dirt runways and cement, and you're like, what the hell? And I'm trying to find it, like, what could that have? There's nothing on the map. What is that? And into Phoenix is cool. Flying into Phoenix because you fly in kind of over the city, and of course it was beginning of August. It was 187 degrees in Phoenix, and so you're getting all the thermals and you're bouncing all over the place, and it's kind of fun. But I hadn't been to Phoenix Airport in a very, very long time. I've forgotten how much I like that airport. It's clearly been upgraded, but it's
for me it's been 2011 last time probably I've been to Phoenix Airport. 2014 was the last time I was there. It's been after me.
And
I liked it. But I didn't. Did you just do a layover, or did you stay there?
We did a layover. That's where we experienced the whole, you don't need to show me your passport, just look at the camera and go ahead. That was our coming into the United States. And it was cool. Frictionless, absolutely frictionless.
Is it, did they know you were American? Was it all for every single person, or was it for American citizens? You know what I mean?
I think I'd have to double check, but I think
if I were, or maybe somebody with a Mexican passport, maybe the passport.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know. It was just citizens, and then I checked a bag. I can't remember why I checked a bag, but I checked a bag, and it was
crazy these days.
And I was looking at my clock because we were on unconnected flights.
Oh, separate tickets.
Not protected by, and we were on time, and the flight was early actually. But I was looking at the clock getting antsy, and then of course our connecting flight was posted a delay before we even got there. So I was like, okay, bags come out. And then took the SkyTrain over to the terminal that our flight was leaving from. And which was brand new. And forgive me, Phoenicians, I can't remember which terminal it was, but it was beautiful, light, airy, polished, clearly either a new terminal or been refurbished. We tried the American Express Centurion Lounge there, which was...
Did you get access with your Amex?
Yeah,
Amex
and those are usually pretty good, although the services were limited because they had an issue with their kitchen, so we bailed and went to Shake Shack.
That's a better idea.
Yeah, and so, but to kind of give you an example of the amenities they had in that terminal, and then it was a Alaska Airlines E-170 flight to San Francisco, and I think that's all that needs to be said about that. There was literally nothing other than the dude in front of me was one of the most annoying people I've ever met, but it was unremarkable in every possible way.
But isn't that Alaska's business model to be unremarkable?
It is Alaska's business model. Yeah.
All right. I mean, I flew them once and it was, I forgot everything about it. Which probably is like, it's like in, what's a movie with Will Smith with the aliens?
Oh, Men in Black, yeah.
Yeah, and they have this light, and you forgot as soon as you land, they flash you, and you forgot about your experience, and that's probably their business model.
And it was late, and that it didn't really matter because we had nowhere to be, and it was the same kind of soda and peanut service as everybody else. They don't have IFE or anything like that, and that didn't really matter. But
why not?
It just there's nothing remarkable about it at all. Into San Francisco and into Terminal 2, and then out. But yeah, again, and then flying back to the UK, out of San Jose. I have never. Well, maybe I say this a lot. I don't think I've had a more surly BA crew. Aggressive to some passengers.
Oh,
yeah.
What? Why? Like just generally so, or
they were at best disinterested, and at worst surly and aggressive.
Okay, that's really bad.
And we had the bulkhead, which was fine, a lot more leg room, but of course the armrests don't go up, and I don't think either of us slept particularly well. But it was awkward at points where they were berating passengers for not really doing anything. What? Yeah. There was a guy in the exit row where they were doing the safety demonstration, and he was putting his phone on airplane mode, and the flight attendant broke off the safety demonstration to say, "Put your phone away. I've told you before. If I have to tell you again, blah 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 blah." And he was like, "I was doing what you just told me to do."
That sounds like Lufthansa to me. No,
oh man,
no, just because I had once in Lufthansa.
It was.
That's bad.
Bad. And then
maybe they just overworked. I mean, it's not that I'm giving him an excuse because I just find that generally the States supposed to be like that.
That if you're going to have any reserves of charm left, it'll be at the beginning. It was just
exactly.
It wasn't. It wasn't good. I mean, I sent you a picture of the meal that we were served.
Oh.
And it was foul, just disgusting, and just embarrassing. And so that was a flight to forget. But, and I sent you this because you sent me a little 1-panel comic strip about, I think just airport experiences in general. When we landed at Heathrow early, our gate was ready for us. We took the bus or the train because we were just tired and didn't really want to walk. Got there, no one in immigration, straight through. Baggage hall was quiet and empty, pretty much empty. I had priority tags on my bags, and they were both off within the first 10 bags. We didn't have to wait at all, and my car was waiting when we left. Great. And I was like, okay, what? So, and I think that's why at the top of the show, I caught myself and said, maybe this is yielding change at Heathrow.
I think it is. I think by definition, it's better. I'll tell the story when I had to wait 80 minutes to get a gate in May.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have to wait to gate in May in July in August this time, right? So there's a reason they're capping. We might not be happy about it, but I'm a bit shocked. Not shocked is a bit. Because are we shocked about anything about BA anymore? But that the crew was that. I mean, I get maybe they're overworked, as I said, or something. But it's.
It was very.
You know, so many people. I was about to say friends, but so many people. And just last week in Pakistan, were telling me, so what's the deal with BA? Like it's a phrase that everybody says. Like, and when I ask further, they all say, yeah, but it used to be one of these. You know, for us, it was the airline. You know, but the reputation, the fact that they came up with the business class seats first, and etc. And now, I mean, people are like, and they were asking me, it says, "Did you fly BA?" I was like, "No." "Oh, you're right. You shouldn't." And like, it's sad that it come to this, and it's sad, by the way, that I didn't. I'll tell the story next time. But I had a choice, so I had a budget, right, and then. I was looking at the best price, obviously, because I didn't want also, it was very, very, very last minute. I could have done the way in with, so going to Islamabad with Qatar Airways and coming back with BA, because I booked, and I'll tell the story next time again, I booked my flights on BA.com and not on Qatar Airways, just because it was cheaper. And I didn't. I ended up still flying back with Qatar, which in pure time-wise is stupid because I'm losing time doing a connection in Qatar and because I don't trust the experience. And it's sad that I have to do this. And I don't have your, story about your history with BA because for me it's a very recent, it's like 12 years of true history with BA, 10 or whatever. It's... I'm not saying that it's over and whatever. I'm just saying that it seems that a lot of people that I talk to, simply by the fact that I live in London, they say, "Oh, what about BA?"
Yeah.
I don't know what to answer.
I mean, the one noticeable change in the service is that now you get a hot second meal, whereas before it was half a sandwich and a Kit Kat. Now you get a second, but. The flip side of that was I was asleep when they were starting to serve breakfast, and it smelled so bad that it woke me up. Like I woke up and what is that? What the hell is that smell? And I kind of went back to sleep, and Megan said, it actually didn't taste that bad. It was better than dinner.
Okay, she tried.
But I don't know what they need to do to improve. I mean, clearly Heathrow is getting there.
It's true. I think so too.
And the check-in staff again are I don't think I've had any problems with them throughout this. I mean, they've been frontline and all of that.
Do you use the first wing?
We used the first wing, and with we couldn't go into the lounge because there was too many of us. But
but you used the fast.
But even in the visits I've had to the lounge lately, it's getting better and better and getting more and more improved. But the in-flight experience from a service and soft product, it's just, they've got to fix it.
But what saddens me, and again, maybe it's just a bad day, is that, yes, service is one thing, but if the people are also surly, or like you said, they're in a bad mood, or they're aggressive, that's just, I mean, this is not a catering problem here.
I mean, there's definitely a catering problem, but it's not the only thing. I mean, there's much more. It feels like a cultural, corporate culture thing.
Maybe people have had enough, and maybe they're just. And I get all that.
Yeah, me too. I was going to say.
The thing is, I get this. If I would maybe mistreated, maybe the 2-3 years of COVID plus everything on top of the other. But then the result is I actually, and I'm not representative of anyone, but I actually not only chose Qatar, I'm pondering, should I, now that it's one click, should I move all my Avios on Qatar Airways and now start a crew there? Because it's basically equivalent. And I would get some of the benefits like the super premium lounge in Qatar, in Doha, whatever. I'm literally, and it makes no sense because, I mean, it makes sense because I can just move back my Avios, but I mean, the status itself, I would just not give up on. And I know that, like, our friend Ed Parsons was listed as a, GGL, old club, whatever it is, it gives you access to a bit more. Well, Ed, by the way, maybe tell us, is it still worth?
Yeah, I would be very interested to hear.
I don't know.
A voice of reason in amongst all of this.
I'm sure they can fix it.
I do
just
too.
that it seems that it takes forever. I mean, maybe it's around the right time. They don't have a lot of money. It's just like I don't know. Man, that was a great trip.
Yeah, I had fun.
Yeah,
I had fun.
yeah. Of course, I can see that, right? I mean, I didn't take any holidays this summer. I mean, Islamabad was for work, so mine are only in October, so it feels like in for
It'll be here before you know it.
holidays. But it was a very quiet summer, so I will be a nice destination. Destination I've never done for the holidays. I'm not going to announce it on the recording, so it makes it so it's a surprise when it happens. I haven't booked. I'm probably booking today
exciting.
the tickets because I booked the hotel, but not the tickets. Which looking at the pricing, like, ooh, shit. Other than that, I mean, look, because 1 hour 55, let's not do other I wanted to talk about the Dreamliner, but I was just going to say something because I've got so many messages. I document my Instagram. No, I wish. I document my travel Instagram, although Instagram has become pure garbage these days. The stories is still fun to do. And it's, especially when I'm alone, I take a picture or two and video or two. However, so I was at Islamabad, it's Qatar, Doha, departing the southern runway, I think. And at the moment we are about to depart, so we do the last turn and you're already accelerating and pushing the throttle up. I see like tons of stored aircrafts from Qatar Airways. So I was with my proper camera and I took 1 or 2 pictures, and then just the very last minute I take a very bad shot of because I wanted to put something on Instagram. And I said, I'm going to lose the connection, so I go very fast. And I write lots of Dreamliners in storage at the airport or something. I forgot the name. And probably half of the people that are also correlated to this podcast because they listen say, this is an A350 and not a Dreamliner. Yeah, guys, you're right. It was a 350 on that picture. It's just that before that, there was like a tons of Dreamliners. And by the time I wanted to quickly write before we take off our route. So I think I've lost a lot of credibility on Instagram amongst our listeners. So really sorry, guys. Yeah, it was indeed a 350 from Qatar Airways that you saw, and I wrote Dreamliner. People are going to hate me. And
I don't think you can carry on with this.
So I don't know when we're going to record next because I've recently learned, which is like AKA 2 hours ago, that you're moving. So I don't know when you're going to move from Fix. Let's do the next episode will be Pakistan, but I'm not sure. Are you traveling these?
Nothing on the books.
Nope. Yeah, same here. Besides October and November, I have some stuff, but nothing on the books for now. So yeah, we'll do probably in around 2-3 weeks, depending on when you move. We'll discuss that after we end the recording. We'll do another, and it's gonna be, I think. Yeah, it's going to be fun to talk about that as well. It's going to be very different than
I'm looking
about
forward to
California,
this very
but
much.
I think we'll talk about some of the intricacies of traveling in emerging countries. Let's put it that way. I will ask for your advice and experience on what would you do if you were in situations like I ended up being. Let's run the music for the outro where it is. There you go. We can still talk because I think it's a minute or whatever. Oh, well. Are you going to keep your horn?
Yes, my horn will be
behind you for the new place you're going to live.
I will make sure that comes with me and all of the other accoutrements.
You especially need that window.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know why I'm pointing it out on the screen because you cannot see my finger pointing out of the window. The window behind you is very cool, and I've looked at it. What's the website again? Where you bought?
Plane Reclaimers.
Yes, and I looked. There was none. There were like one from BA.
Yeah.
I was like, do I really want a BA sign behind here when you look at?
Yeah, there's a couple of suppliers in the UK that do that, so worth having a peek.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Thanks, Alex. Happy
Safe
travels.